All right, well, let's get started. I am Jessie Mahoney, and I am a pediatrician and also a mindful coach and a yoga teacher. And I teach yoga most Saturdays at 9 Pacific, and I teach these restorative yin blend classes occasionally when the timing feels right. And today, or this weekend, the timing felt right on multiple accounts. One, I was mentioning college application seasons. So for those of you that are in that boat with me, sending you lots of love and patience. But also because this is about to be the switch to fallback and more darkness and a time of more rest. And my invitation of tonight's practice is inspired by that, but also inspired by this incredibly abundant, beautiful, huge full moon that we're having, which is apparently called a hunter's moon, not a harvest moon. But seeing this moon and appreciating just the fullness and abundance of the moon and of the time I spent yesterday at Pie Ranch leading and honoring diastole retreat, and the trees are full of apples, and it's really an abundant time in many other ways. So as we go into darkness and we go into winter, we're in this transition period of tremendous abundance. And where I live, October is actually one of the warmest, sunniest months. And so there's abundant sunshine. But thinking about abundance is my invitation for this evening restful practice. And when we connect with abundance, it also invites relaxation, knowing you're enough, there is enough, there's safety in enough, you have more than enough of what you need. Our minds are trained to notice what we don't have. And so this will be a practice of enjoying, appreciating, and celebrating what you do have. So finding a seat on your bolster or a block, or a pillow, something to lift your hips up above your knees, letting the hip flexors gently soften as you settle in, and finding your ischial spines, rooting them downward into the earth underneath you. Noticing that they, in and of themselves, sitting on your cushion or your block, on your mat, on the earth, is a source of safety and comfort and stability and strength. And you'll tilt your pelvic bowl forward and align your spine all the way up through the crown of your head, resting your hands lightly on your thighs. Your legs can be crossed or extended, whatever feels good to you. Taking in a long, deep, nourishing breath. And exhaling, letting it out. Closing your eyes if that would feel good. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Connecting with this very full, nourishing, restorative breath. Breathing in long, even. And breathing out with ease, letting it go without any pressure or resistance. Once again, breathing in this nourishing, abundant breath with ease. And out through your mouth, letting it go. And we will bring a hand to heart and another hand atop, connecting with our hearts, full hearts, grateful hearts, loving hearts. Connecting with all of the amazing abundance that a full heart brings, that a filled heart brings. Envisioning your heart filling fully as you soften and breathe. Letting it out. Noticing your breath rise and fall in your chest. And noticing as you slow your heart rate, your heart filling a little more fully. And inviting you to press the heel of your hand into your heart space a little bit, releasing oxytocin, which is an abundant, warm, loving hormone, sending it everywhere, into every nook and cranny. Carried by the breath. And exhale, releasing and letting go of any tightness, letting the heart fill even more fully. And a pause to notice how you feel. Taking a moment to notice what is right with the world, what is right with you, what is right with your body. What is beautiful around you? What is working well? Noticing the loving relationships that you have. The abundance of connections that you have. The abundance of health that you have. The abundance of beauty in the world. A moment to acknowledge that there are also lots of non-beautiful things going on in the world today. But there are also beautiful things. And this practice is shifting our focus, shifting our attention to the abundance, to the beauty, to the safety, to the peace, to the love, and to what is working. Nourishing ourselves with those thoughts. And the neurochemicals that are released when we focus our attention there. Noticing your chest rise and fall. An abundance of oxygen circulating around. And noticing the relaxation, letting it in, inviting it in. If your body is resisting, just notice and let it go. Perhaps offer the opportunity to opt out. Breathing in, letting the breath in, and letting it out. Taking a moment here to connect with abundance in your own life right now. Where do you have abundance? What abundance in your life or in the world can you appreciate in this moment? And if you're struggling, go back to that immense, huge, beautiful full moon that is there right now, whether it's behind the clouds or not. Appreciating its invitation of abundance and fullness and light and energy. And noting its calm and peace amidst everything else going on in the world and the atmosphere. The moon is coming up night after night and filling more and more full. Where else do you have abundance in your life? How can you appreciate it? And how can you create more of it? It might be adding in something, or it might be peeling away something that's interfering with your sense of abundance. Resistance to what is, frustrations, resentment. Scraping off the patina that's getting in the way of that abundant shine underneath. And looking ahead to the abundance of the next season, we have more dark, but we have more abundant time around tables and likely with people we love. And there's an abundance of human connection in the fall and winter season. There's usually more rest, more quiet, more stillness. Perhaps taking the invitation of the darkness to connect with the abundance of quiet and stillness. Time to rest and recover and restore. Thinking about those bears who hibernate, there's an abundance there of sleep and rest and self-care. So setting your own intention around looking at abundance, appreciating it, creating it, enjoying it, acknowledging it, whatever it might be. letting that thought enter, sealing it into your heart space, wrapping it around that whole pericardial space, bathing your heart with this idea of abundance. It's soft and stretchy and flexible, perhaps encouraging your heart to grow. And when you feel complete, we'll lower our hands and open our eyes and just notice how you feel. Letting your eyes accommodate to the light. We'll bring our hands just down by our sides, staying up on your bolster, reaching your arms up towards the sky. You're going to interlace them, place the palms to face the ceiling, flipping your palms over, shimmy your elbows by your ears. A huge, abundant, full, delicious, nourishing breath. Slight arch back and round forward, enjoying your entire spine, bathing it with stretch and movement and breath. Inhaling, filling fully every nook and cranny, slight arch in the spine, enjoying that. And exhale, round, an abundant, full curve stretch of the spine, whatever your spine does happily, making sure it feels good. Inhaling, reaching tall, slight arch back. Exhale, round forward once again. As full expression of this, pressing your hands forward as you can. Inhale once again, stretching tall, opening your arms out towards the side walls. You're going to have your palms face front, drawing them back a couple of inches, opening up your chest, letting the breath come into the whole heart space. Your heart is shining forward, making room for abundance here. Exhaling, rounding forward, a huge beach ball, holding it in, gathering it, appreciating it, noticing it. And rounding open, your heart is shining forward. Rounding forward this time into a hug, giving yourself a huge hug, lifting your elbows up over your chest and squeezing tight. Dropping your chin into your chest and rolling forward as you squeeze. Breathing in, filling every nook and cranny, squeezing tighter. And exhale, lifting up, letting it out. Unwrap your arms, stretch them wide to the sides, pinching your scapula and release. And wrapping your arms, huge hug in the opposite direction. Fingers coming all the way to the medial scapula and letting go of any judgment if they don't reach. Lift your elbows up and round forward and squeeze. Huge inhale as you squeeze tighter. And an exhale, let it out. Slowly coming back up, reaching your arms out to the sides, and we'll lower them down. Lifting up off your bolster, if you have a bolster, we're going to stretch our legs long in front, move the flesh of the seat out of the way. Using your ischial spines to root into the earth for that sense of safety, stability, we're going to take the bolster and layer it on top of your outstretched legs. If you don't have a bolster, you can use a pillow, and you can use a block, or you can just slide forward without it, but it won't be quite as restful. So giving yourself something nourishing to lay on. Taking a moment to connect with your sit bones, you're going to stretch your arms long over the bolster and release your head and neck, resting easefully. With every pose here that we do, just do what works for you. There's no exact right way to do it. One of the most important tenets in yoga is to do no harm. Notice what feels good. Allow it to feel good during and after. Lowering your forehead towards the bolster and releasing your back, the back of your legs. You can also, if your head doesn't reach, put a block on top of the bolster. And we'll be here for 5 long, nourishing breaths. Inviting, softening, closing your eyes.
I invite you to point your toes and roll forward a smidge more, just enjoying the abundance of sensations. 2 breaths here. And bringing your toes back towards the bolster, flexing your ankles. Enjoying the sensations there. Soften in. A couple breaths here. Inviting softening into any of the twangy, tense spots. And if there's no softening, let go a little bit. Taking good care of your body. We'll slowly lift up, sliding your hands up over the bolster. We're going to bring our legs into a wide angle pose. You'll spread your legs out wide. You'll want your knees mostly straight, not locked, and you're going to have the bolster in front of you. The best way to do this pose, if you happen to have 2 blocks, is to put the blocks underneath the bolster to lift the bolster up towards you. So you can fold forward in a wide angle. You can also stack 2 blocks, or you can gently lay your hands and not come all the way forward. The invitation here is to hinge at the waist and then allow your head and neck to release. In an ideal world, your head will have something to touch. You can flip the front block up so you have a little bit more support, depending on how much room you have today. It may be different today than another day. Resting your forehead lightly on the bolster. We'll be here for 5 breaths. Slow and easy. And once again, point your toes. You may have room to lower a block now, lower what you're leaning onto. See if you would like to fall a little bit farther forward. 5 breaths here with your toes pointed. And if it's too much, relax the toes. Notice what feels good, remembering this is a practice of learning what works for you and feels good for you. And flexing your ankles, bringing your toes towards you. Noticing how that feels. Couple breaths here. When you feel complete, you can relax your ankles, sliding up off the bolster. You're going to move it out of the way, keeping it somewhere nearby and moving the blocks out of your way, but also within reach. And we're going to sweep our feet around, coming to hands and knees. If you happen to have a blanket, mine are still in the car from Pie Ranch, so I don't have one today. Standing, coming to all fours, hands and knees, hands on the earth, spreading your fingers wide, equal pie shapes to protect your wrists. Be kind to your wrists, flatten your palms. And you'll notice your knees should be hips width, tops of the feet lightly on the floor directly behind you. Inhale for cow pose and enjoy the stretch in your spine, reaching the crown of your head tall, enjoying the front of the belly. And slowly rounding into cat, enjoying it. We'll do that one more time, just being kind to the spine, bathing it with stretch and movement. And exhale, round into a full cat. Really enjoy it, moving really slowly. Coming back to tabletop. Bring your knees apart, toes together, coming down into child's pose. We're going to come into child's pose unsupported for a few moments here, allowing your rear end to sink towards your hips. Your knees will be apart. Elbows will reach long in front. If you need a bolster, this is too stretchy, feel free to grab one or a block for your forehead. Letting your arms reach long in front of you, sinking low towards the earth, and land where it feels good. Please put your head on something. If it doesn't reach the floor, put a block or a bolster or a pillow underneath. And if your hips feel too high, put a bolster or a pillow between your rear end and your calves so you're leaning on something, supporting yourself well. And letting your heart rate slow. Today's practice is going to be a bit more yin than restorative till the end. But in yin, you can still let your nervous system relax. It's more of a nervous system relaxation. Intentionally letting the calm spread through your body. Sending the breath into your entire back here. And today's class is focused a lot on stretching your back because I have a tight back. And so sometimes we work on the things that we most need. So breathing into that back and allowing it to stretch and soften kindly. Letting go of any frustration of any tight spots. Just inviting the breath in. Walking your hands to the left side. You'll bring your left palm to the front left corner of the mat as close as it can, and the right palm on top, breathing into the right side body and the right rib cage. 5 breaths here. When you feel complete on that side, walking your hands to the other side slowly. Left hand will be atop the right hand. And breathe into that left side body, enjoying it. Bathing every nook and cranny with abundant breath, oxygen, stretch, and time. No rush, no spaciousness. Let this practice be delicious and feel amazing. Invite the softening, the space. Inviting some peace and calm into each nook and cranny. Walking your hands back to center. A big breath into both sides of the rib cage, evening things out. And exhale, release. Bringing your hands towards you. We'll press back up to hands and knees for a moment. Bring your knees back under your shoulders, lowering your forearms down, coming into puppy pose. You'll notice a different stretch in the back and the shoulders. So your hips are going to reach towards the sky. Forehead will come to the floor once again. And enjoy the shoulders. Notice your heart hanging light in your chest. Letting it fill. When you feel complete here, shifting your weight forward, sliding down to your belly, coming into Sphinx pose, releasing the lower back. Spread your fingers wide to be kind. Palms will be on the earth. Your hips will press, front of the hips will press into the earth. And your heart is going to shine forward. A loose, light gaze. It's a soft pose. Inviting your back to relax here. Huge breaths in, bathing every nook and cranny. Send that invitation to any tight spots. Close your eyes if you can as you gaze forward, but with eyes closed. Let your heart gaze forward, seeing with your heart. Allowing a bit of abundance to come in there. What would happen if your heart filled more fully? Not in a hurry, just plump and round and happy. One more breath here. And we'll curl our toes, sliding back into a child's pose, knees apart, toes together. Release your back. We always want to feel better after yoga than when we began, and releasing your back after Sphinx is a very important thing to do. Coming back to hands and knees. If your blocks are nearby, we're going to come into a low lunge to release the hip flexors. So bring the blocks nearby. You'll put your hands on them a little bit wider than hands and knees. Bring your left foot forward, coming into a low lunge. You'll slide into it. If you need a blanket under your knee, go ahead and do that. Notice if you want your blocks higher or lower. You're using the blocks here, not supporting yourself. If you don't have blocks, use books. You can use your pillows. This is not an overdoing it stretch. Less is more in this stretch today. Inviting softening again. We're not reaching our hands up to the sky. We're sending love and spaciousness into the front of the right hip. Notice if you need to readjust your feet in any way. Pouring the breath in through your nose, down into your chest, down into the front of that right hip. You can bring your chin to chest and let your head and neck relax. Notice the difference in the hip as you do that. Three more breaths here. Envisioning softening. Gently releasing that front foot, bringing it back. So you're back on hands and knees. Hands are on the blocks if you have them. And if not, you're just on hands and knees. And you'll bring your right foot forward, coming into a low lunge on this side. It's kind to release both sides. Noticing where you would like to land here, not overdoing it, just kindness, softness. Taking your time. We carry a ton of tension in the hips. We'll have a lot more space for abundance. We let go of that tight stickiness. Just like a restricted heart doesn't fill, tight hips don't move. Inviting spaciousness, room. And noticing that when we're less tight, we have more peace and calm. 3 more breaths here, inviting whatever softness you would like into that left hip flexor. Envisioning it melting just a little bit, not too much. It doesn't have to let go. It just has to loosen. When you're ready, you're going to straighten that right leg a bit, sweeping it back behind you, coming back into hands and knees. We're going to move the blocks out of the way. I'm going to come into pigeon, and I know most people love pigeon. There are a few people whose knees won't do pigeon. And if your knees don't like pigeon, you're going to come into a reverse, a figure 4 on your back, and I can demonstrate that in a minute. If you love pigeon, you're going to come to your hands and knees, Gently bring your right knee towards your hands. You're going to bring your right knee to the outer edge of the right outer edge of the mat. Right foot to the left outer edge of the mat. And slide that back leg back, folding forward. Some of you will come down to your forearms and just pause here. Some of you may want a bolster or blocks if you have them to put your head on. There isn't a right way to do this. And if anyone can't do this, you're going to roll around to your back, bringing right ankle over left knee and tugging the back of the left leg towards you, coming into a figure four. So if you need to see that, I'm demonstrating that. And then I will also, pigeon is my favorite pose. And it's one of those that the longer you stay, the more things shift. So inviting abundance here in pigeon. If you have your head on a bolster, you can turn your gaze to one side. And coming into stillness here, coming right back to the breath. And as you're here for a luxurious amount of time, notice if you need to adjust to be kind to your hip, to your knee. If your knee hurts, flip over and do a figure four. Ahimsa is do no harm in yoga, one of the most important tenets. More is not better. Pain is not better. It's a kindness practice, a compassion practice, doing what works for your body. Five more breaths here on this side. Allowing yourself to really enjoy it. As you're here, connecting with this idea of abundance, what's going well? What would you like to create from abundance? What would you like to appreciate? What would you like to notice? Our natural tendency is to notice what's wrong and what's not going well. Directing your attention to the abundance in the world at this time. Perhaps the abundance of beautiful trees, depending on where you are. An abundance of love, or bees, or animals. Knowing a few of you that are here in person right now. An abundance of beauty, an abundance of nature. Perhaps an abundance of cozy blankets and hot tea. When you feel complete on this side, you'll bring your palms back to the floor, lift up, reach the crown of your head towards the sky, and send some love to the front left hip for a moment. Pausing here for a couple of breaths. You can come up on your fists. 3 big breaths, pouring them like honey into the front of that left hip, left psoas. Come back to your palms. Curl the back toes under, and you'll slide that right foot out, coming back to hands and knees. I invite you to bring your knees back, coming into child's pose, but with your knees together. If you happen to have the bolster, you can slide it towards you to place your forehead on if your belly happens to be in the way. That happens to some of us. Taking a moment to let your hips settle, perhaps wiggle your hips side by side. Some of you may wish to curl your toes and come up into a downward dog to release the hips in between and do a little walk the dog. If that would feel abundant, do it. Noticing, taking time to notice what your body would like. There's an abundance of opportunities, choice, different moves that would feel good. You can even place your forehead, top of the head, crown of the head on your bolster. Feels amazing if you happen to have one. And then you'll come back down to hands and knees and we'll do the other side. Now, we often say do the same thing on the other side, but many of our bodies are not equal. So notice if doing the same thing is a good idea for you. Your left knee will come to the outer side, left side of the mat, left toes to the right side of the mat, and you'll slide your right knee back. Coming into pigeon pose here if you're going to do that. If your knee doesn't like it, flip onto your back and do a figure 4. And you'll lower yourself down to your forearms and bring your head to a bolster, a block, the floor. Notice what feels the best to you and allow yourself to choose what feels the best, the most nourishing. So many choices and different variations. Notice that the word variations is an abundant choice. It's not modifications or due to limitations you can't do it. There's lots of different ways to do this that release the hip and feel good. Choosing the way that feels the best to you. And when you arrive there, come back to the breath. Sending an abundance of oxygen to every tight spot, inviting release. And as you're here, focusing on peace, love, kindness, calm. What in this moment is right in your world? What abundance do you have in this moment? Make any adjustments that you need as things release, taking your time. An abundance of time to soften. Sending the breath with love to any tight spots, wiggling toes if anything is falling asleep. And when you feel complete, you'll press onto your hands and onto your fists if that's available to you, shining your heart forward and sending some love to the front of the right psoas and hip, pouring the breath down. Imagine drinking it in through your nose and pouring it all the way down through the chest, through your belly, into that right hip. Filling it with care and kindness and appreciation for all that it does to keep us upright most of the day. And when you're ready, you'll roll onto your left hip. And for anyone who's in figure 4, just you can meet us here. And you're going to bring both legs long in front once again, bringing the bolster or the block in front of you, or you can do without. Folding forward into a forward fold. Your back will be round, elbows will reach forward, and just even out your hips. Rock from side to side, enjoy it. And point your toes. And flex your toes. Sending love, stretch, movement, blood flow into every nook and cranny. Spreading each toe wide, enjoying that sensation. As wide, wide, wide as you can. Relaxing your toes. And we'll slowly slide up our shins to our knees, to our thighs. And we're going to roll down in whatever way you want, or you can bend your knees and roll down each vertebrae by vertebrae. Taking your time, no rush. Allow yourself to arrive on the floor and notice how you feel. Taking 5 breaths here. Bend your knees so your soles of the feet are on the floor and your back is released. Palms are face down on the earth. Taking time to connect with the earth. Let it hold you. Let it connect with all the parts of your body that are resting upon it. And have a block within reach, hopefully. If you don't have a block, you can also use a bolster or a pillow here. You're going to lift your hips up and place your sacrum on the block. I recommend the medium setting for most people. You can also do the lower setting. Do what feels right for your spine. And again, not overdoing it. It should feel comfortable, stable, secure. Coming into a supported bridge. Another release of the hip flexors. And a chance for the blood flow to pour back into the heart space, to fill your heart full. Sending it also up into your head, into your arms. Enjoying that reverse flow and fullness. Coming back to the breath. Noticing what's shifting. And if you need to shift to be comfortable, do that. Some of you may wish to bring your arms over your head in an easy cactus shape as well. Notice what feels better for your back and your belly and your arms and your chest. If it would feel good, stretch one leg long and enjoy the psoas here. If that feels good to your lower back, some of you will know. If it doesn't, don't do it. You'll stretch your other leg long and enjoy this abundant stretch in the front of the belly into the psoas. 3 breaths here if it feels good. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. I used to not be able to do this because of a car accident, and now I can. But before, it was so obvious that it wasn't good for me. So please don't do it if it's not good for you. It's not better or worse. What's better is to do no harm and care for yourself well. Enjoying the release. Bend your knees one at a time, coming back to a supported bridge. Bringing your hands back alongside you on either side of the block or the bolster, whatever you're on. And if you're in an unsupported bridge, lower down to the floor. We're going to raise our right knee to 90 degrees and our left knee to 90 degrees. You're going to be balanced on the block or the bolster. And raise your right foot to the sky and your left foot. Legs are extended. And you're going to be in a restorative inversion. The blood flow is going to pour back down towards your heart, towards your head. Noticing if you're not stable, lower the bolster, lower the block. You can even come to the floor. And for those of you who are enjoying this, point and flex your feet, ankles. Roll the ankles. Enjoy this position. It feels amazing. If you allow yourself to relax and soften in, notice what parts of it feel amazing. And if it doesn't feel amazing, please don't do it. 2 more breaths here in stillness. Feet are relaxed. Gently bend one knee, lower it to the floor, the foot. Gently bend the other knee and lower it alongside. Pressing into your palms, which should be on the floor on either side of you, you're going to slowly take the block out from underneath you and rolling down inch by inch. You use your glutes here to unroll your spine like pearls on a string, allowing it to rest on the earth. Pausing here and just notice how you feel. Bringing your knees into your chest. You'll grab your shins and have a little rock. Massage your sacrum with kindness. You can have an abundant rock almost to the edge of tipping, massaging all points of those lower back muscles, all the way from each side to the other side, as far as you can go. Coming back to stillness. If it would feel good, come into happy baby. Hands will come to the outer edges of the soles of your feet, and you'll just rock gently, not stretching too much, just enjoying once again the massage and the rock. Bring the soles of your feet together. Press your heels in towards your groin and pause here. Gently release your hands and you'll bring your feet to the floor. Soles of the feet together, knees apart. We're going to come into Supta Baddha Konasana, reclining butterfly. If you have two blocks nearby or two pillows, gently place them under your knees. In restorative yin, we don't overstretch. So you'll gently support your knees. They may need to be on the medium setting, the low setting. Notice what works for you. Soles of the feet are together, knees are apart. You'll bring one hand to heart and one hand to belly. Allowing yourself to relax in here. Notice your chest rise and fall. Notice your heart underneath one hand. Sending it kindness and love and encouraging it to fill fully, fill abundantly. Inviting the space and the softening to do so. Letting go of anything you're holding tight in this moment for right now. You can always come back to it later. And with that hand on your belly, take a listen to anything going on in that part of your body, any messages. Anything. Sending kindness and compassion and care and abundance to that part of your body. An opportunity to take good care, send good wishes, kindness, love, space, softening. To anything that's still healing, sending healing attention. Gently bringing your hands to your outer thighs. You're going to draw your knees together. Soles of the feet will be on the earth. Walk your feet to the outer edge of the mat. Knees together, knock-kneed. Bringing your hands over your head once again in either a loose cactus shape or a T, whatever feels good to you. Drop your knees gently to the right side. Left knee is going to reach towards the front right corner of the mat, pardon me. Breathing into the left side body and relaxing in. If it would feel good to you, gaze to the left. Be kind to your neck, letting go of judgment if it doesn't work. Do what feels the most inviting to you. An abundance of choice. If it would feel good, take your right foot, pick it up atop the left knee, pressing it a little bit farther down. Notice how that feels. Lowering it back down to the floor. Bring your gaze back to center if you're gazing to the left. Bring your knees back to center. Even out your hips. Still knock-kneed. Even out your shoulders. Time to get yourself organized just right. Knees together, feet apart. Drop your knees to the left this time. Your right knee is going to reach towards the front left corner of the mat. If it feels good, gaze to the right. And if it feels good, you can pick up your left foot and place it atop the right knee. Only if it feels good to your body. And it might feel good on one side and not the other. And that's okay. We're not the same on both sides. Inviting softness and release here. Gently release the top foot, lowering it down. Bring your gaze back to center. Bring your knees back to center. Reorganize your sacrum, head. Bringing your hands down, grab your knees, bring them into your chest once again, and have a rock. We're going to come into Shavasana here, but I want to invite those of you who happen to have props to come into supported fish, and I will demonstrate that. If you don't have 2 blocks or 2 blocks and a bolster, then I invite you to stretch your legs long. You can put a bolster or pillow under your knees, stretching them long in front and allowing your toes to fall towards the outer edges of the mat. Palms will be open towards the sky if you're coming into a traditional Shavasana. And for those of you who are going to do that, you can place a pillow under your knees or a bolster under your knees and begin to let go and settle in. For those of you who want to come into supported fish, which is also one of my favorite positions and a very abundant position, you're going to set your blocks up like I am here. The block that's going to, the front end of the block closest to you is going to touch the lower edge of your bra strap or the lower edge of your scapula. One will be on the lowest position, one will be standing tall. You're going to bring your lower edge of your scapula or your bra strap right to the front edge of the front block and drop your head, the occiput, right on the top block. You'll spread your legs, stretch your legs long, and bring your arms out towards the side. You can also bring them out to a T if you happen to have room where you are. Some of you may wish to place a bolster on top of the blocks. I actually prefer the blocks alone. It's a bit of an occipital release if you happen to have headaches. But notice again what feels good to you. If you don't have blocks, you can put a pillow or a bolster under your back and arch so your chest is shining forward. But notice what feels good for you. For each human, it's going to be different. And we will settle in here to Shavasana, our final resting pose. in whichever position you have chosen, allowing your body to melt into the earth. Allowing the abundance, safety, and security of that earth, the planet Earth, underneath you to hold you. Letting go of control of the breath, letting go of control of your muscles, trusting in the planet Earth to take good care of you for these next few moments as you let go, release, and relax completely. Inviting your body to refill, reset, and restore. Gently begin to deepen your breath. Slowly start to wiggle your fingers and your toes, inviting movement in. Very slowly. If you're on the floor, you can stretch long. If you are on the blocks in supported fish, I invite you to bend your knees and roll yourself off gently. Those of you on the floor can take in a big inhale and a stretch, rolling over to one side as gracefully as you can. And we'll come to meet seated once again, back where we began. Finding those sit bones, reconnecting them into the earth, noticing the safety, the stability, the steadiness underneath you, grounding in, closing your eyes, dropping right back into that Shavasana state while seated. Align your spine, growing tall, reaching your head towards the sky, taking in a big drink of abundant breath. A long, delicious exhale. Dropping your shoulders as you let the breath go. Bring a hand to heart and another hand to top. Checking in with your heart space. Sending yourself kindness, compassion. Taking a moment here to set an intention for the week ahead. Perhaps an intention filled with nourishment, filled with abundance, filled with kindness, compassion, peace, calm. Knowing that whatever else is happening in the world, we can come back to this spot, hand to heart.
ischial spines on the earth, sitting tall, connecting inward. Connecting with your own personal sense of safety right here in this moment. Noticing what is right on your mat, right here, right now, in this moment. Connecting with the abundance of breath. The abundance of relaxation, likely. The abundance of those feel-good hormones circulating around. Oxytocin, dopamine, some serotonin, inviting them to percolate into every nook and cranny for the evening ahead. Thank you all so much for practicing with me tonight. May you all have a week ahead filled with an abundance of everything: love, kindness, peace, trust, safety, and hope. Namaste.